Hello everyone, welcome to The Green Man. Hope you're all doing good and well. So for this latest episode of me revisiting my favourite sci-fi TV episodes, I'm going back to the original Star Trek series and its 25th episode of its first ever series called The Devil in the Dark. And this is honestly an episode which I can remember watching for the first time when I was probably about seven years old, I think, in the 90s, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. Actually, it was kind of because it has a slightly horror movie tone for quite a lot of the film, not for all of it, I would say, but for a portion of the film, it kind of has that kind of people being killed off one by one kind of tone to it. Um, and then as the kind of episode goes on, it goes more into the kind of classic Star Trek morality and different perspectives, kind of discussions and the conversations between Kirk and Spock in this episode I find especially interesting, actually. So before I go on to more of a bit of a summary of what this episode is and what happens in it, so a bit of a spoiler alert. If you don't want to know what happens in this episode, you've never seen the original Star Trek series, then maybe now is probably a good time just to switch off from the video. But a couple of interesting facts about this one. This is apparently William Shatner's favourite episode. I had no idea about that. It's one of mine for sure. Whether it's my all-time favourite episode of the original series, I'm not sure, but it's certainly a contender. I really like this one. Um, and it's also the first time we hear a McCoy catchphrase, "I'm not a bricklayer," or rather, "I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer." So the first time he starts with the "I'm a doctor, not a something else" catchphrase, which is kind of interesting as well. I didn't realise that until I looked it up online. So this is set on this planet called Janus 6 or something, on a mining facility where all these miners are gradually, seemingly being killed off by what is apparently this monstrous creature that is roaming these mines on this planet. But what becomes apparent is, Spock is trying to work out more about the creature itself. Things like what it may be made up of, why it's killing these men, and all these other sorts of things. And as you go through the episode, the conversations between Kirk and Spock become more and more interesting, I think. And there's a really kind of there's a bit of a twist, because at first Spock wants Kirk to not kill the creature. Even though it's killing these men off, he kind of sees, from being being a very scientific man, and also, he obviously is trying to, showing himself like being probably better than humans, right? Trying not to judge the situation too quickly, despite the awful deaths of these men. And so he's trying to establish maybe more about what the creature's motivations are and urging Kirk to capture it and not to kill it. But then I found it interesting when confronted with the creature, as Kirk is in the picture that I've got on my laptop screen, that he drops his principles and he urges Kirk to actually kill the creature. And that to me is almost a sign of how much he cares, I think, about Captain Kirk, as a friend, that he's almost willing to drop his principles suddenly. And I thought that was a really kind of interesting little point in the episode, where I was even thinking, that's not like Spock, that's interesting. Maybe he cares about, does that show how much he cares about Captain Kirk? Maybe put in the comments what you think about that moment. I found that interesting. And then, anyway, we kind of get to the point where Spock gets involved with the creature, mind melds with the creature, learns a bit more about it, and what its true intentions are, that it's actually defending itself from these men because they are killing its children. They're destroying these eggs, which are these silicon nodules, which they discovered at the very start of the episode that the creature is kind of leaving behind and everything, and that's how it sort of is procreating. I think it's a nice episode. It's a good episode, not a nice episode. I'm not sure I would describe it as that such, but it's a good one that kind of has the feel of a horror movie at first and evolves into more of kind of Star Trek, um, you know, questions. And I think there's a sort of a message in this episode, which is perhaps not to judge things we don't understand too fast. And as humans, we are all very, quick to judge things, I think, and maybe the best example of this in the modern day is the internet. I mean, how quick is social media to jump on things, and all that sort of thing. I'm getting very deep and maybe even a little bit off topic of this, which is, but yeah, I think this is a great episode. I don't know, honestly, amongst the Star Trek fandom as such, I don't have many friends that are very into the original Star Trek stuff. I don't think I know many that are really into the sort of old school Star Trek episodes and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I guess I'd be interested to know, if you do know this episode, what do you think about it? Do you think actually it's kind of not one of the best ones of the original series? Are you more in my camp and you think this is great, this is a really good episode, it's really enjoyable? Because yeah, I really like it. I like a lot of the acting, the characters. I think, as I say, it's not just a great creature episode, if you like kind of creature feature type thing. It's also a good look at Kirk and Spock's relationship a bit as well, and their understanding as people trying to, deal with obviously this situation on this planet where these men are very kind of afraid, but they're, acting almost entirely on their fears of this creature and everything. So it's just a good episode, really. I think that's where I'm going to leave this one. So thanks as always, everyone, for watching this. Do let me know if you enjoyed this episode, and what other Star Trek episodes are your favourites from the original series. Do let me know in the comments. Otherwise, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe and all that stuff if you're interested in this kind of content and you want to see me talk about more sci-fi in the future. Otherwise, from me, take care, everybody. Have great evenings. Bye for now.